Fortnite Chapter 4 Season 5 OG, the final season of Chapter 4 is here, and it takes us back to the iconic Chapter 1 island, Athena. Last season, Chapter 4 Season 4 Last Resort, Dr. Slone, working with Nolan Chance, organized a group of thieves for a heist to steal the time machine from the clutches of Kato Thorne. Together, the thieves successfully stole the time machine, and once that was done, the October crewback skin, Shimmerdusk, a monster hunter of great renown that hunted down Kato Thorne across all time and space of the island, finally slayed the notorious vampire once and for all in a Fortnite Nightmare's quest. Following the heist, our beloved blonde ding-dong Agent John Jones had at last returned to the island. It turns out that after the fracture event, Jones was stranded on a chunk of land floating in space, slowly drifting towards Reality Zero for the past 4 seasons. And in the midst of his return, he has an unexpected reunion with his former boss that he presumed to be dead, Dr. Slone. For the sake of the island and the Omniverse itself, the two put their differences aside and decided to work together in an attempt to save all existence. Which brings us to now. After running a few tests bringing items from the past to the Chapter 4 island, Slone was ready to set her plan in motion, where Slone made Jones reluctantly use the time machine to return to Chapter 1 and complete an extraction of something or someone, according to Slone's audio logs found in Pleasant Park. While Slone would remain in the present/future in Chapter 4, Jones would carry out the mission in Chapter 1. Although during this extraction, Slone warns Jones of the grave consequences his actions in the past will have in the present/future, actions that can possibly alter or retcon the entire storyline if things go sideways. Unfortunately, those actions seem to already affect the island in the coming weeks, where leakers found files showing Kevin the Cube successfully ripping the 0 point out from beneath the island and beginning to drain the dying orb's power. However, with all this time travel shenanigans, a lot of the community is confused, which is why I'd like to bring clarity to some questions, such as how does time travel work in Fortnite, what does Slone want to extract from Chapter 1, what is Slone's plan with the time machine, and why is Jones so reluctant to carry out his mission? We have quite a bit to unpack here, so sit back, relax, and let's untangle the mystery of the past. Let's begin by answering the biggest question in the community right now. How does time travel work in Fortnite? Time travel itself is already extremely confusing, especially with Fortnite, considering the storyline is based in an Omniverse. For those of you that don't know what an Omniverse is, it contains an infinite amount of universes, multiverses, and realities, all from the past, future, and present. Slone's first audio log that was recorded for Jones found in Pleasant Park helps give us a better understanding about how time travel works, at least in Reality Zero.
Jones, Slone here. You know when and where you are, and that means you know what you have to do. And what will happen on this side when you're done. Tomorrow, you take the time machine back. And tonight, I'm recording this. It occurs to me that I've never sent a message through time, so you might want to check back. Everything you do will ripple forward to this very moment. This might not even be the first time I've recorded this message. Do the job, Jones. It has to be done.
In her audio log, she states that everything Jones does in Chapter 1 will ripple forward to Chapter 4 and alter the timeline of Reality Zero. This is known as the butterfly effect. I'm sure many of you may be currently asking, what did an alteration in Chapter 1's original timeline just lead to a branch timeline of Reality Zero? In Reality Zero's case, no. There is no such thing as branch timelines in this reality. This is because there is only one 0 point. It's timeless and is not affected by the past or future. For the 0 point, there is only the present, which is why in week 4 of the season, the 0 point is surrounded by darkness and has barely any light in it. That's how the 0 point looks under its petrified stone shell. It's not the Chapter 1 0 point, because that 0 point was a lot brighter and colorful. This 0 point is clearly the Chapter 4 one because it's extremely similar to the 0 point from the fracture event that had nearly no energy within it. So to sum it up, there's only one 0 point in the entire Omniverse and time travel does not affect it. Reality Zero has only one timeline, and anything that has changed in the past alters the future, that being Chapter 4. With that out of the way now, let's get to another big question. What does Slone want to extract from Chapter 1? At the moment, the answer to this question is currently unknown. However, I have a couple of theories as to what Slone wants Jones to extract from the past. First and foremost, I'd like to clarify from the information I've gathered, the extraction is not that of a person, but rather an object. According to leakers, the time machine will be strapped to the scientist's rocket. This is extremely important for many reasons. One of those reasons is because if you look inside the truck that Jones is using next to the time machine, on the inside of it is a rocket. Throughout Slone's audio log, she's constantly reminding Jones Jones that the mission he's on needs to be done and he cannot hesitate in his duty. We'll touch on that part a bit later, but I believe that even though Slone has severely emphasized the fact that Jones has to do his duty, she didn't want to completely rely on audio logs alone, which is why I believe she placed a rocket prop in the truck to remind Jones what he needs to extract, in turn explaining why at the end of the season the time machine is attached to the scientist's rocket. The second reason why it's so important for the time machine to be attached to the rocket is because the rocket is able to tear open rifts in the sky, which is exactly the power that the time machine requires to function, which is something we learned from May last season during her snapshot quests. Leading us into our last two questions. What is Slone's plan with the time machine, and why is Jones so reluctant to carry out his mission? Like I've previously stated many times, Slone's emphasis on Jones needing to complete his assigned mission has left Jones definitely reluctant about it. In her fourth audio log, Slone gets somewhat emotional but doesn't really want to show it. Take a listen.
Jones, Slone here. I've definitely left this message many times before, so get right to it, huh? This is the first time in countless lifetimes that I don't know what happens next. We're both heading off into the unknown. I guess this is goodbye for this me and that you. But we'll meet again. Reality's not done with us yet. Keep the campfires burning, Jones. Wherever and whenever you go.
In the audio log, you can hear her say farewell to the version of her in Chapter 4, This Me, and the version of Jones in Chapter 1, That You. I believe this is heavily implying that whatever Jones is going to extract or do will ultimately sever his connection with the last person he has left in his life. The Seven are gone, Amy is gone, and his family is gone, leaving Slone as the only person that is relatively close to him. And now he is forced with the heavy decision to sacrifice his relationship with Slone in order to save every single reality in the Omniverse. It's honestly heart-wrenching. Jones constantly has to face loss in his life, but he perseveres no matter the situation. Even though he's a fictional character, I sympathize with him and have lots of respect for him for continuing to seek that light in the tunnel that seems to not be there in these kinds of moments. On the other hand, Slone has seemed to accept that fate and is laser focused on carrying out her plan. At the near end of the season, after Jones finishes lugging the time machine from Pleasant Park to Loot Lake and then Dusty Divot, we will see Jones alongside the past version of the scientist strap the time machine to the rocket. I theorize that once they activate the time machine, the rocket goes through a rift, overloading the time machine, and either that resets Reality Zero's timeline or somehow heals the 0 point, preventing it from dying. Whatever the case may be, it's something that needs to be done according to Slone in order to save all the Omniverse. There's a ton of other things that may happen, such as the meteor destroying both Kevin and the 0 point, or maybe Kevin will succeed and drain the 0 point of its energy. Although it's currently unclear since the season has just begun, so we'll have to wait and see where this all goes before any solid theories can be made. Slone herself even states in her final audio log that this is the first time in countless lifetimes that she doesn't even know what happens next. The fate of all existence now rests in Jones's hands. If you've made it this far, subscribe for Fortnite storyline content and consider using my code Rezztro in the item shop. Thank you all for watching and see you guys in the next one. Take care.